صلوا على الحبيب صلى الله تعالى على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Inshallah, we're continuing the topic, questions and answers about Islamic veil, meaning the covering of a female sister, daughter, wife, mother, etc. Just before I begin the question and answers, I'd like to mention a mafhum of a parable. And this parable took place in America, where I was listening to a bayan online from a scholar, and he mentions a story. And this story mentions there was a doctor called Dr. James, and his wife would visit. So basically she would go to this Muslim's house and she'd visit constantly. They had this neighboring friend. What happened is her husband passed away. So when her husband passed away, she was covering her iddat, which was 4 months and 10 days approximately. And when the wife came back, the non-Muslim lady came back to her husband and told her the situation, that this Muslim lady is not leaving the house. She can't leave the house to get necessary needs, but majority of the time she should remain in the house to cover this iddat. Now he was rather confused, this doctor. He was a doctor who dealt with DNA, right? And when he started investigating his own wife, so he took certain DNAs, took it to the laboratory, he started testing, and he realized that he had 2 children. One child that he investigated, and that child was his child. And the other child that he investigated the DNA, he realized that this child is not his. And he said, wow, this is amazing. And then he started researching in the Quran. And guess what? He embraced Islam. He ended up leaving his wife and then marrying a Muslim woman. So this was the change of this Dr. James. And this is a very small parable I'm mentioning. And then, one of my relatives, he was a nurse at a hospital in Pakistan. And he even says, even saliva itself, if it gets mixed into a male and female, the jarasim get transferred. So they're kind of making a link with each other. And we see that when we use mobile phones nowadays, the camera itself, how it recognizes the eye. And if I were to scan your eye, it doesn't open. Look how Allah Ta'ala has made the eye itself as that only certain devices can open, with the identification. And we see when we go to the airport, they wave a little a swab around your body and they take a DNA. Even your sweat itself is a DNA as well. And just imagine if someone killed someone and 20 years had passed, even the forensic team, the police can still investigate and find out that linked DNA as well. So why I'm mentioning these things, sometimes we do zina, sometimes we do certain actions that are against Islam, right, which we are mixing DNAs. And a majority of the people out there, non-Muslims, they do zina they consume alcohol. There was once a guy actually came to, before I came into the mahal, into my shop, and he was crying. I said, what are you crying for? And he goes, I had a pint, I had alcohol, I was intoxicated, this woman slept with me, and now she's disappeared. But she left a message that she's pregnant now. Now I can't be able to see my child anymore. So there are situations that, non-Muslims are doing, that the child itself when it's born is without a father. Yeah? And look how Islam is beautiful. It gives you that relation in the sense of form of nikah. Get married. And these precautions I'm going to mention here now, these are question and answers posed, for our rectification, for our sisters and mothers. Parde ke bare mein swal jawab. Cover yourself in front of ghair mahram men. Be careful of your tone of voice. We've discussed these topics in my previous videos as well. So, moving forward, my dear Islam brothers, here is one question where it says, some people say the world has progressed tremendously. You should not emphasize the issue of veil these days. And the answer to this question is no command of Allah Azza wa Jal and His beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam beyond the capability of any Muslim. Allah Azza wa Jal stated in the 286th verse of Surah Al-Baqarah, part 3, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not burden anyone but to the extent of His strength. However, the full proper veil will definitely be difficult for the nafs, meaning the inner ego, of those women who are used to unveil. Another question mentions here, what should a wife do if her husband forbids her from appearing in front of her brother-in-law, etc.? Some family members provoke wives against their husbands with comments like, he is too strict. Yeah, so you might just tell your wife, Parda lagaye, my brother is coming into the house, do your hijab, so you don't veil your beauty to my brother. Yeah, and then you get such statements from the family, demand a divorce, etc. He's too strict. What is the ruling for such people? The answer here mentions, a wife must obey her husband. My master Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi said, if a woman fulfills all the requirements of the veil, wearing thick clothes that conceal every single hair from head to toe, excluding the face, both palms and both soles, then it is permissible for her to appear in front of her brother-in-law. However, if her husband prohibits her from appearing in front of them and gets upset because of this act of her, then in this case, due to her husband's command, it will still be haram for her to appear in front of non-mahrim men, even when wearing a veil. So even if she's covered and the husband is restricting her, she should listen to her husband. If the woman does not obey her husband, she will face Allah's wrath, meaning Allah's punishment. For as long as her husband is displeased with her, not a single of her salah will be accepted. Allah Azza wa Jal's angels will curse her. If she asks for divorce, she will be a hypocrite, a munafiqah. Those provoking the wife into demanding a divorce from the husband are beloveds of Satan. So you might get some women, they might complain to their family members, their friend, they like to empty their stomach, ghiba, we say, they start talking about it. And then the other female might say, get rid of your husband. If he's too restrict, he cares about you, he loves you, that's why he's doing all these things for you. Don't you realize it? So wives that quarrel with their husbands over trivial things should study the following 7 narrations. Tremble with fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. Seek pardon from their husbands and obey and serve them prosperity of their afterlife. I'm going to mention 7 sayings of Mustafa and then I'm finished inshallah. I'll try to do as quick as I can. So number 1, there are 3 people whose salah is not lifted above their ears. The slave who has run away from his master until he returns. The woman that sleeps whilst her husband is displeased with her. The imam who leads a community that is not pleased with his imamat due to the fault in him. And number 2, there are 3 people whose salah does not rise a single handspan above their heads. The first is the imam already mentioned. The woman who sleeps whilst her husband is displeased with her. 2 Muslim brothers who have fallen out with each other, broken ties with each other without a valid Islamic reason. And number 3, there are 3 people, none of whose salah is accepted. Neither do any of their virtuous deeds rise to the sky. An intoxicated person until he becomes sober. A woman whose husband is displeased with her until he is pleased. A slave who has run away from his master until he gives himself under the control of having returned. And number 4, when a husband calls his wife to his bed and she refuses without a valid reason and he spends the night displeased, then angels curse her till the morning. The renowned commentator Hakimul Ummat Mufti Ahmad Yarhan alayhi rahmatul mannan states regarding this hadith, the hadith specifically mentions wives being called in the night because it is at night that a husband usually stays and sleeps with his wife rather than the day. But even if a husband calls his wife during the day and she does not comply, then angels curse her till evening. The curse of the night ends in the morning because in the morning the husband goes to work, and therefore his previous night's anger vanishes or decreases. Number 5, if a woman goes out of her husband's house without a valid reason, whilst he disapproves, meaning he doesn't agree, wife, beloved wife, stay home, don't go out, but she doesn't listen, then every angel in the sky curses her until she returns, and everything other than jinns and humans that she passes by will curse her. And number 6, the woman who asks her husband for a divorce without a valid Islamic reason, i.e. without a severe compulsion, and then she will not even be allowed to smell the fragrance of paradise. So we see there's Mufti Sahib in Dewsbury. I was sitting with them, and you know what? He had a big list of divorce cases dealing with. Divorce. Why? People are indulging in social media, they're watching wrong content, they want to be like that person, they can't achieve that purpose in life, right? You know, the husband might be weak, he might be poor, and sometimes the wife might demand something huge where a husband cannot fulfill, and then it comes to the matter of divorce. Why is it like this? They say don't look at a rich person, don't look at mansions, but look what's underneath you. Look at poor people who are struggling. We look at the people in Palestine who have no food, who have no buildings, who have no clothing, lost their parents, lost their mother and father. They are going great suffering. We should be looking at them. They have nothing. And we are complaining over trivial matters. Even kids, you give them food on the table, they're grumbling. They're arguing. What is this? Think about the children who cannot eat their food. Even Pakistan, India, Syria, Yemen. They're not getting their food. So this is why we have to teach our children to reflect about these poor people. And this is why we fast in the month of Ramadan. So moving forward, my dear Islamic brothers and sisters of social media, if a husband commands his wife to carry a rock from a yellow mountain to a black mountain, and to carry a rock from black mountain to a white mountain, then she should obey him. The renowned commentator, Hakim al-Ummat, Mufti Ahmad Yarhan, alayhi rahmatul rahman, explained his hadith. This is an exaggerated blessed statement. Black and white mountains are not situated close to each other. In fact, they are situated far from one another. So this hadith means that whoever difficult a task a husband instructs his wife to do within the boundaries of Islam, she must comply. Carrying a rock from black mountain to a white mountain is extremely difficult because it's a journey with heavy weight. So my dear Islam brothers, I've completed 7 Farmani Mustafa here. Inshallah, we will continue the topic as time has run out. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us peace and harmony in our homes. May Allah Azza wa Jal grant our sisters, our mothers, our daughters the ability to cover themselves according to Islam. And may Allah Azza wa Jal give us the ability to prepare for the Akhirah. Bless our children with the following as Hazrat Bibi Fatima radiyallahu ta'ala anha and Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu ta'ala anha. If I made any mistakes in my short speech, I ask for forgiveness. And Ya Allah, please forgive us for the sake of Mustafa. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين جزا الله عنا محمدا ما هو أهله. O Allah Almighty, accept this short dars in your court. O Allah, accept our Salat al-Zuhr. O Allah Azza wa Jal, protect us from tests and tribulations. Ya Allah, bless the Muslims in Kashmir, Palestine, Bayt al-Muqaddas, Masjid al-Aqsa. Those who are suffering, Ya Allah, remove the sufferings. Bless the Muqtadis, bless the people of social media. Bless all the Muslims around the globe, especially Halifax. Make our Muslims obedient towards you, Ya Allah, and your beloved Rasul, and give them the ability to follow the commands. Ya Allah, we're picking and choosing. We are following the Western culture. We are following other people, what they do. We follow social media, but we don't follow the Quran. Ya Allah, give us ability to open the Quran and to follow your instructions instead of visualizing the society and following the society. Those household who have broken up, Ya Allah, Those who are going through suffering with their children, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, restore all their affairs. Ya Allah, bless them and bless our children who are studying in school, colleges, universities. Oh Allah Azza wa Jal, grant them the ability to excel in deen and dunya. Sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.